But when you measure it flat, it contradicts that. I'm spitting flat facts and that. And I know you don't like that. Google Maps is flat, it presents elevation profiles like that. I'm a spitting flat earth king. Sentence has a ring, doing my own thing. If earth was a big roast chicken, factually finger licking chicken. We just got the measurements missing. I'm spitting eggs and vegs, begging the question lesson. I've said it before, time after time. I'm the spitting flat earth king of rhyme.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a coffee, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and X. Now we are joined by Neil, Surf Daddy, Adam, Len, One Deck, and a fair few people in the Flipside Discord server. So welcome one and all.
Morning.
How are
Hello.
you?
I'm alright. How are you?
Everything is roses.
That's good to hear.
Well, I've been playing basketball.
I've been playing pool.
And I think my mate's been running around a racetrack.
All right, now that everything's queued up, can we get on with the show?
Everything is queued up. I've had all sorts of technical issues this morning. So for whatever reason, my daughter's account was set up under my name, and that's caused no problems for however many years she's had that laptop, probably 3 or 4 years now. It's coming to the end of its usefulness. It's getting really knackered. But today the computer did an update, and suddenly I've got all my daughter's thumbnails all over my screen, and everything that's useful has been signed out. So I'm like, oh, I've had to do a whole lot of work, so there's not a great deal of pre-show, unfortunately. What I do want to do in today's live show, though, is get straight back into the Feast of Nonsense. So we are on Feast of Nonsense Part 9, and these questions, I think we've reached about number 45. Globe model was created 500 years ago by Masonic cult members. I think we did cover that yesterday. Was that the last one we covered?
Yeah, I think it was, yeah.
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 46. No one has ever circumnavigated the Earth from north to south, only east to west. Who wants to take that?
I think we may have covered that, but, you know, them cardinal directions are horizontal directions anyway. So if you're going to go in any of them directions using a compass, you know, parallel to the surface of Earth, it will be in a horizontal direction.
Exactly.
You mean south is not the bottom?
No, that's the wrong direction fallacy. So absolutely spot on, Neil and One Deck. So what this does is conflate azimuth and altitude. So I actually cover this in the chapter of my book called The Molten Iron Core, I think is the chapter that covers this, where the description of azimuth is horizontal orientation, measured from north in degrees. That azimuth directionality, horizontal in nature, flat earth prerequisite by definition, is not the bottom or top of anything. It's not up or down. To suggest that it is to utilise something called the wrong direction fallacy. Now, in flat earth debate terminology, from the old school garbage way of arguing whether or not Earth's a ball, you have this position where if we automatically assume Earth is a ball, and the only debate that's in effect when we describe it that way for this particular subject matter is to have a vertically orientated magnetic field that is only debated about in terms of Curie points and its acquisition through the heliocentric timeline, when in reality directionality is acquired by these magnetic field lines for a horizontal orientation. So to suggest, when ignoring flat Earth prerequisites and measurements, as is always the case, we can then utilize a vertically orientated north and south, top and bottom of a globe that we're circumnavigating, and put it in false dichotomy with a east-west. So, with this being in mind, we can whistle past the actual flat Earth measurements in the horizontal and argue in false dichotomy about the globe versus non-globe, with both using azimuthal directionality from horizontal. So that's the purpose of this question. Regardless of what's been navigated or in what direction for this description of circumnavigation, the conventions that would give us anything to be describing cyclically to move around, if we were to do so, would be a convention that in and of itself affirms a flat Earth by prerequisite. That is to say, you'll need a flat Earth, in this case azimuth and directionality, to navigate with, to then juxtapose east-west, west-east with north-south when both are planar. Done. Anybody got anything else they'd like to add to that?
Don't think you could add anything else to that, Nathan. I think you covered it fantastically, and it's so easy to understand. All you've got to do is to prove that the Earth is flat is go and buy a map and a compass and go on a hike, and you will be demonstrating how flat Earth is.
I'm stuttering away at how to respond to this. I think it's the Antikytherian mechanism. It's just listed as one of the things. It doesn't have any description of what that's relevant to. Are you all aware of this device that was dredged up, allegedly?
Got the Antikythera mechanism, is that what you said, Nathan?
Yeah, Antikythera, that's how I say it. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly. The mechanism that was dredged up that's accurately depicting by a mechanical means the motions of the lights.
Yeah, I've heard of that, yeah. Clock reference to the sky, or I think it was something like that. Obviously, the celestial, the movements, or something along that lines.
And what's this supposed to be, proof of this, whatever the mechanism's called?
I don't know. I mean, it's alleged to give you an accurate depiction of the celestial movements. But you're like, okay. I mean, if they're using the current rhetoric of heliocentric motion derived from flat plane measurements to give you radial values, then it's ultimately just describing two planes. So the origins of our current system are a flat planar surface, ground level, sea level, whatever you want to call it, and a planar sky that you can measure with angles to stars and then describe as a glorified protractor wrapped around you when measuring the planar parallel sky with ground. That mathematical derivation of angle measurement from a plane can be converted into sphericity by way of taking one single star as the starting point, Polaris, and measuring a 1 degree declination towards the horizon as you back away from that star. The angle with respect to a flat plane decreases towards the horizon as it moves along the parallel sky with the ground. But from your perspective, with a curved protractor from a planar positional system, you can measure its angle decline as you move away from it, the rate being 1 degree for every 60 nautical miles. When you reach its minimum, it's on the horizon as you measure it. That would be the equator. Now, with this convention and derivation of a radial value, that is to say, when you measure that angle, you can extrapolate that out into an area of equal elevation we call latitude lines, sometimes referred to in terms of global hijacking when they're describing travelling along great circles. Well, these circles, by convention, don't really exist. They're just a derivation of a flat Earth angle prerequisite measurement of Earth's surface with a parallel sky. Once you've got these derived circles and radial values, you can then put into effect conversions into sphericity, so you can put in motion the ground you measured flat at a plane that you stand within the protractor I just described and call that a globe. and then put that in motion around the sun on a separate but similar plane of reference. That extended plane can be called the celestial plane if you're trying to mark out angles with positional information through the globe Earth protractor to an infinitely distant extra protractor with the stars plotted on them. But again, this describes, by convention after measurement of angle, two planes, one the sky, one the ground, with angles being measured to them. And that's how you can put into motion heliocentrism. Again, to bring this to a point, if that's suggested to be applicable to the Antikytherian mechanism, then that would ultimately describe flat planar derivations of surface level angle measurements, if it's to be claimed to be accurate or comparable to what is currently applied to the planar surface we measure with angles to stars. Anybody got anything else on this Antikytherian mechanism?
No.
Anybody know how to say it? I say Antikytherian, but is that correct pronunciation? Not that it particularly matters. Antikythera. That's its title, The Antikytheria. If I'm correct in pronunciation, then great. If I'm not, please correct me in the comments with Go ahead.
Antikythera.
I'm close enough. I'm going to stick with how I say it. Sounds better.
Yeah, I kind of butchered it a little bit, but it's okay.
Not
Like I
really,
said,
it's not important.
Antikythera or something.
As long as we know,
Yeah.
it's only by convention, not by convention, by Socratic inference that we all know what we're talking about. There's no need to actually agree on the pronunciation. It's kind of irrelevant, as long as we know what we're talking about when we talk about this thing that's been dredged up. Anyway, let's move on. Next one, again, is kind of useless in terms of its explanation. It just says sundials. So in terms of sundials, it's just a very basic flat Earth measurement of a sun angle. I mean, it couldn't be more flat Earth affirming. It's an absolute prerequisite, like any flat Earth, like any Earth measurement. To measure the angle to the sun from a planar level tool called a sundial requires an axiomatic planar measurement of an angle. Again, I always feel like I'm redundant when I'm saying this. It's like I don't need to add the same statement onto the facts when you're just measuring an angle off a plane with a sundial.
Wait a second. So you're telling me that the sundial is a level plane? It's not like curved and arched on a ball?
No, it's just
sundial?
It's just a platform that's been levelled with
with
a angle device that's accurately placed on that flat plane that will cast a shadow on the flat surface. That's all a sundial is. It's really basic.
Yeah, but
So
it's
it probably
devastating
wouldn't-
to the ball. Sorry, go on deck.
I'm just saying, probably if he was using the sun's light and casting it onto a basketball, you wouldn't get an angle then, would you?
No. Same goes for moondials. Sundials, moondials, same thing. It's just a straight up flat Earth prerequisite angle measurement to derive a concept.
So basically
we've
what you're saying,
extrapolated
Nathan,
from the sun, time. Good.
Are you basically saying time is measured flat?
Yeah, you're correct. That's the base origin, as crude as it seems, of our inference when we use the convention of time. That's all it is. It's just a measurement of the sun. Again, if you want to extrapolate this out into a pseudo-Riemannian space-time geometry bending time, well, what's time? Well, this convention we've derived from the sun, if we're going to describe it in this convention, there are others, like entropy. That's just a similar but not identical description of time, the arrow of time, as we describe entropic dispersion, decay, osmosis. Those are descriptions of the arrow of time. It's just a very different way of describing the process that we exist within. But if you just base it on the light in the sky, it's just based on an angle measurement. It is as simple as that. I mean, you can extrapolate that into the longitude system, but ultimately it's still just derived from a movement of a light that's been averaged.
You see, how did we miss that? Something as plain and simple as the sundial that was there the whole time, and we missed it.
We missed all of it. All of the Earth measurements. I'll just say this in a different way. Earth measurements are flat. That's no exception to that rule. It's just a statement of how we measure Earth. If you're measuring Earth, you are measuring it flat. What about the hills and valleys? You measure the deviation in topographical terms from a horizontal plane of reference, measured in miles. So if you want to describe how, topographically speaking, it's not flat, then you require it to be flat in the linear distance measurement of the surface, or as the crow flies, to describe the millimeter accuracy of the vertical deviations. Oh, that's going to irritate me. What was that noise? Did somebody just leave Discord? I need to fix that.
That's what happens when somebody joins Discord or leaves Discord. You're just hearing it now?
Yeah, I need to get rid of that. That needs to be done now. Stupid consequences of having linked accounts. Urgh. Right, so I need to just go into sounds. Sounds. Deafen, preview sound. Undeafen, preview sound. Mute, unmute. I don't need any of these things to make a sound. Right, where's joining and rejoining? Show stream previews. How is that going to get rid of it? Allow others to see a preview of your stream before they join. No, that's not it. Echo cancellation, push to talk. No, I need to find what stops that from... Maybe someone can let me know from the chat how I can stop this.
Would that be in notifications?
Notifications. Sounds. New message, preview sound. No! Incoming ring, preview sound. No! Shut up! Enable unread message badge. No! Shut the... Here we go. Notify me when people know I'm starting streaming small servers. I don't know what the hell that means. I don't think that solved it.
Somebody leave Discord so Nathan could check.
Somebody drop? I have no idea. I'm looking at the settings. No, we can hear that. This is going to piss me off royally for the entire show. No, we can hear you joining and stop doing it now. Thanks. Okay, we got it. Thanks. And friends come online. Is that what it would be?
Might be.
Notify me when friends come on. No, still doing it. Turned everything in the settings off. My apologies if you're listening to this live. Turned all of them off. Notifications. Show advanced notification settings. Allow playback. And it all off. Speak all messages out loud. I don't know what that means. Okay, I'll have to come back to it afterwards. I think I've spent enough time on this temporarily.
Maybe we'll just say, nobody leave Discord, nobody enter Discord.
I'll occasionally get kicked out.
I'm either going to have to drop Discord or
the computer, just so you know. I'm not jumping out, but it will kick me out occasionally, and I don't mean to do that. I'd rather stay in, but unless I mess with the mouse for some reason, that's what it does to me if I don't touch anything for a while.
Yeah, I just need to know how to stop it making a sound. Every single sound has been turned off. Ah, here we go. Hide 18 sounds. Camera off. Let's just turn all of them off. Voice disconnected. PTT. User join. Preview sound. User leave. User moved. Don't need any of that. Outgoing ring. Don't know what that is. Don't care. Stream started. No, definitely not. Stream drop. Don't care. Viewer join. Don't care. Viewer leave. Oh, why? I don't need notifying with this shit. Right, I think I'm there. I think I've turned them all off. Right, can somebody from Discord please just drop and rejoin?
Ding.
Nobody's... Yep, there we go. Fixed. Excellent. I've done it. Right.
You fixed it?
Yes, I did, yeah. On the fly whilst live. Not exactly the most professional thing I've ever done.
So somebody just dropped it and rejoined and you didn't hear nothing?
Yes, I fixed the problem.
Neither did I. So you fixed my problem too.
Yeah, well, you're connected to the. Don't worry about it.
Well,
Okay.
good. I'm glad.
I fixed it. That's all that matters. Right, sundials is done. Next, it's just gyroscopes. Gyroscopes.
Wait, before you go on, I just want to say, yesterday you handled that beautifully. How you explained everything pertaining to the measurements and as the crow flies, you really broke it down very well, and they understood perfectly what you were saying. Just to give you a shout out for that.
Oh, thank you. If you're a member, you can watch me joining worldwide debates and beating the ever-living daylights out of about 35 different ballers all at once. It's great. Just for fun. Just for kicks and giggles. As in, just for entertainment. Like one last hurrah, people are crying out for me to climb back into the pit. So I'm like, fine. If you want absolutely destroying and annihilating, then I have no issue. For the sake of entertainment for my members currently, you can go and watch this 8-hour stream. So initially it was like I'm doing the dishwasher and sorting out the kids and therefore not there to keep this discussion going, and everybody had gone a bit quiet. So I was like, do you want me to join a random server so there's people for you to listen to? So I clicked around in a couple of the servers and then found one that had got a load of people in and then let it play out. And then after about half an hour of us being in there, they hailed me to answer questions, which I declined. I was like, there is no debate. It was Jesse Path of Light asking me if I'd like to debate about Earth curvature. And my opener was to say, there is no debate. You will derive drop from a linear horizontal mile measurement. And sure enough, within about 30 minutes of rumpusing and deflecting and ignoring points that I wasn't going to be debating about, Jesse eventually got to his 4th flat Earth prerequisite when he derived drop over a linear horizontal mile measurement for distance. So that was the opener for me to say, there is no debate. I won't be answering any of your questions. I'm here as a guest. Now, there was some suggestion that I'd be moved into a different room to give me the ability to mute people, although I declined that offer to make it unequivocally clear that I was in open debate on an open, neutral platform that I did not have control of, that was not mine, that I did not run. There, unexpectedly. Towards the end of me being there, literally, I had people crying out to have me muted because they couldn't bear to hear how they, because I didn't make any claims, used their own words suggested to infer sphericity as flat Earth proofs time and time and time again. So if you want to see that, join as a member. It's an 8-hour stream. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say 7.5 of those 8 hours are packed with the absolute living daylights beaten out of your favourite bull-believing clowns. So if you like that sort of thing, become a member and watch that 8-hour stream.
Oh, wait a second, because I was hearing that they were beating you.
No, they weren't. Every time that happened, so occasionally there'd be, oh, well, we win then. I'd re-break down what had been asserted in explicit detail to explain how Earth was being measured flat by a suggestion never made by me, utilised by them, by way of flat Earth prerequisite. It would be summarised and pointed out to them. And then I would give them the worst vitriol I could possibly muster. So at points they were saying, look, we respect you and, you know, we want to hear what you've got to say on the subject. I would immediately point out that I had absolutely no respect for any of them. And verbally I made them absolutely acutely aware how little respect I had for them while I insulted them with their own flat Earth prerequisite measurements over and over and over again.
Yeah, I don't know how you do it like that.
The thing is, nobody else is doing it like you, Nathan, like that. You know, you was just spitting out facts and explaining that you've not measured the Earth. The Earth's always been measured flat, and you're using ballers, flat Earth prerequisites to try and suggest that you live on a ball. How embarrassing.
Nobody does it half as good as you, baby. Yeah, anyway. Astrolabes, number 50. Astrolabes. It's just one word, so I'm just going to read it out as it's presented to me.
I'm going to make, Nathan, You didn't do. I was just going to say, I don't know how a gyroscope actually works, but I'm sure it's just to remain rigid in space.
Correct.
Because I think we use on gyroscopes. Yeah. So I don't know the ins and outs of how it works, but I don't think that's absolutely necessary to go into an argument with anybody about that. The purpose of it is to remain rigid in space. If you set it up horizontally, it'll remain horizontal.
Exactly.
I do believe that.
Well, that's what it's practically applied with. That's what it has to offer in terms of useful practical application. The fact that it remains rigid in space is what's useful about a gyroscope. So, yeah. What else can you say? It's a tool for confirming how level you can remain and show any deviations from the plane of reference you set up when you spin it up or cage it. That's what it's for. Demonstrating rigidity in space so you can reference horizontal with it. There's nothing else to say, really.
Yeah, but in that freaking Netflix thing, they showed a 15-degree-an-hour drift.
If the
I was
drift-
just going to say,
okay, no worries.
15
I
degree
like
drift.
to,
Thanks, Bob.
I like to lead into that. So, yeah, okay. If we infer that a faulty gyro, that's the only reason you'd be able to buy it. If it wasn't faulty, it'd be on a fucking aircraft. Nevertheless, this gets described in a chapter called The Ether in my upcoming book, where I describe Bob Nodell alleging to be, oh no, I've accidentally let you know how devastating this is on a hot mic that will be wired about his person and comfortably and constantly being checked by soundmen for battery levels and things like that. But nevertheless, it was alleged like a bleeding soap opera that, oh no, my gyro's drifting. Well, what does that actually mean? If it's alleged to be confirming Foucault's suggestion of a gyroscopic motion fixed in space, showing the cage move around the gyro at a rate of 15 degrees an hour, that would be because the ground attached to the rigid in space gyroscope is moving with the ground at the alleged Coriolis deflection rate for a sphere Earth and a sky vacuum, with a planar, horizontal, non-inertial turning reference frame being the cause of the alleged deviation at 15 degrees per hour from the fixed in space spinning motion of the gyroscope. If that's true, then Earth, if it's attached to the gyro demonstrating this drift, is turning underneath the gyro's fixed in space motion. Ergo, a flight from Charlotte, North Carolina to Los Angeles would take approximately 5 hours, does take approximately 5 hours, rather than the hour and a half it would take if Earth was rotating underneath it at 15 degrees an hour, as is alleged to be demonstrated by the gyro. That does not happen. You'd notice. So the alleged drift is what we debunk and then have a reply from people who would be in need of 2 reference frames to demonstrate 15 degrees an hour that's not demonstrated on aircraft that actually use the practical applications of gyroscopic motion to remain in level flight, parallel with surface level, at an altitude measured from surface level, called out by ground control. That gyroscopic motion assists in remaining parallel with the ground at a given altitude. That's how it's useful. So if it drifts at 15 degrees an hour because Earth's turning underneath the fixed frame of the gyro, then planes would have shortened flight times because the Earth would be turning underneath them, something that we do not experience. Now, in active debate, I was proactively contacted by a YouTuber called Sci-Man Dan. And Sci-Man Dan wanted to show me in no uncertain terms how there is no drift, no 15 degrees an hour. It came with a quote, verbatim, you and your reference frames have been ruined. That is to say, the thanks Bob for showing 2 reference frames with a 15 degrees an hour deviation as Earth turns underneath the gyro at 15 degrees an hour. No. If that was the case, then we'd experience shortened flight times. Response from dickhead anti-flat Earth Muppets, you and your you and your reference frames have been ruined. Here's an example of something not drifting. Earth does not demonstrate Coriolis deflection. We don't have any drift. Hence, you need to defend why you don't have any drift with examples of things not drifting. Gyros don't drift at 15 degrees an hour. If they did, they wouldn't be useful. Anything else on gyros, or should we move back over to astrolabes?
I mean, just on the gyro, I mean, not the gyro, but I mean, if to presuming that the Earth is a spinning globe underneath, you're going to need some measurements for that globe. And the only measurements you've got of a globe is from sea level, because we don't live on a globe. It's measured flat from the 0 degree baseline called sea level. So there is no globe to spin anyway.
Indeedy. Right, who's taking the next one? Astrolabes. Again, it's just a one word, number 50, astrolabes. Who wants to have that?
The astrolabe is a simpler version of the Antikythera mechanism. And I think it was the precursor to the sextant. And it's basically a device for measuring the placement of the stars for navigation.
I do believe, or they say, I think Alberuna used one, didn't it, to measure an elevation angle from surface level to get the height of a mountain, I think.
I think it came out, or was built and invented 150 BCE.
Indeed.
Sounds a bit muffled there.
Yeah, it's just an angle measuring device. It's akin to a computer in terms of its complexity.
It's astrolabe, ancient, highly versatile astronomical instrument and analog calculator used to measure the positions of celestial bodies, determine latitude, and tell the local time. So basically, it's a sundial, it's a sextant, it's a way to find out what your latitude is.
Oh, dear.
Oh, yeah. And it was used by astronomers, navigators, and astrologers for centuries.
It's a flat Earth tool. Dealing with angle measurements of stars and the sun, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got a picture of one
Just on a quick.
used. You got a picture of one being used in your rotation. It's a guy holding up that circle thing, looking at the star and the horizon of the water underneath him. So basically, it was the original sextant.
Does say here as well, Daddy, an astrolabe uses Earth as its stationary center to model the cosmos, developed when astronomers believed Earth was fixed. It flattens the 3D dimensional sky into a two-dimensional disk.
Oh, at one point, when they believed it was stationary and flat, they used this thing and they navigated all across the Earth for centuries and eons. And then, well, we don't believe it's flat anymore. So the sextant doesn't work, or
But we'll still use it. We'll still use it.
Sounds like it sounds like that it's a flat Earth proof to me.
Yeah, it's by prerequisite.
Yeah, it relies on Earth being flat to use. It was probably, modelled around that fact.
Latitude, you say? Oh, dear.
And people are going to have to start contacting Google because contacting Wikipedia, because literally it just says an astrolabe is an astronomical instrument dating to ancient times. It serves as a star chart and physical model of the visible half dome of the sky. The various functions also make it an elaborate inclinometer and an analog calculation device capable of working out several kinds of problems in astronomy. So Yeah, Al Baruni probably did use it to measure the height of a mountain before he went and calculated some kind of curvature thing, which he probably also used the astrolabe from the mountaintop to the visible horizon for his dip or whatever. But yeah, they're going to have to change when they're talking about the half dome of the sky. What the heck?
That's actually planar as well. So I described this earlier, just to reiterate. So if you're describing, when he says, I can't remember the term it's used, but he's basically describing altitudes in terms of the angle representation of your position with respect to a planar sky. That is to say, if this is your zenith with respect to the sky, and then something over here on a parallel planar sky is beyond your zenith, if you were to measure it, the degree is represented by the curve. Yeah? That's what we're talking about. But the degree measurement being represented by a curve just represents where it's positionally represented to us as we look at the star from the ground. So it's a parallel, that's planar sky over a planar surface for it to be represented with the arc of the protractor. What did you? He said inclinometer or something. That just means it's dealing with altitude. That's all that really means. It's a nice word though. Inclinometer. Fantastic.
Right. Clinometer or inclinometer is
inclinometer. That's a great word.
Yeah.
I've never heard that before.
It's how you measure the heights of buildings or trees or the stars from a horizontal plane.
Exactly. So it's dealing with altitudes. So what's an altitude? Well, that's perpendicular in the vertical with respect to a planar surface. That's what it is axiomatically. Again, I laugh because whenever I do this, I feel like I'm offering a layer of redundancy. And I am. These things, figuratively, go without saying. But because they go without saying, people don't say them, and therefore it's almost, or is, in the case of globe Earth versus non-globe Earth debate, it's literally overlooked as being a prerequisite flat Earth planar measurement because it goes without saying. So when I start saying it, I have to laugh because I'm like, I'm offering redundancy to something that's a prerequisite or axiom. So you can't, you know, when you add on a layer of saying it's flat because it's flat, and that's because it's flat when we measure it flat, you kind of feel like you should chuckle along to the prerequisites. But if you do just leave them as, well, as I put it, go without saying, then nobody's pointing it out, and people who violate base principles and axioms can get away with it because nobody's mentioned the glaring violation of a prerequisite that's being utilised, but just goes without saying, oh, right, so we can just use it flat by axiomatic principle and then bend that which we've used as flat to suggest sphericity. Like yesterday, so in the discussions that a members only chat is going to be afforded if you join, we were describing areas of equal elevation acquisition. So you measure your angle to the star, and then that angle's minus from 90 and times by 60, and that gives you the distance to the GP below the star. So from your position to the star's position, I'll just do it in this axis. So from your position, if this is the angle being measured to the star, and this is your vertex point that you're measuring from, where my knuckle that I'm pointing at is, then the angle acquisition that you're measuring is ultimately always going to be a planar acquisition of this angle. It's a prerequisite flat Earth that you're measuring to derive a circle around the GP point. So if you're plotting it on a map, once you've got this distance, taking this angle, minusing this angle from 90, the 90 degree below the star to your position, and timesing it by the convention that we can extrapolate out distance for degrees that this star is on a flat sky when you measure it with a protractor. That will give you a circle derived from the radius that you calculated. So minusing the degree from 90, timesing it by 60 gives you this distance, and you can draw a circle with it. That's a radius value because it's forming a circle. Ergo, it cannot bend. Now, Jesse Path of Light, Dumbo that he is, was ascribing a bent surface to this calculation from flat Earth angle measurement, giving you a radial value. His inference being, well, we can bend that radius. No, you can't. Areas of equal elevation, two-dimensional circles, otherwise known as circles of equal altitude, are derived from flat extrapolations of angles calculated into radial values derived into flat sphericity by way of conversion after the flat circle has been conjured. So you measure Earth flat with an angle, convert it to a conventional distance in nautical miles, ergo the radius that gives you is and can only be a flat Earth linear distance. Yeah, they want to bend radii, don't they? So I absolutely hammered the living daylights out of him through every ounce of insulting muster I could possibly deliver to this. I won't repeat some of the swear words that I used as I grilled him and drilled him with the flat Earth prerequisite linear radial value that he required for his circle of equal elevation when he described celestial navigation, as they did. Whistling past flat Earth prerequisites has been the name of the game for 10 straight years. And going into a debate forum, because there was no debate, and just saying, I don't have to answer any of you clowns and your questions put to me, because all I will ever do is tell you how Earth is measured flat and correct you when you assert a violation of your own base principles that you will also measure Earth with. I didn't do any suggested measurements or make any claims regarding any measurements. All I did continually for 7.5 straight hours was take the words that came out of globe believers' mouths and showed them where Earth could only be measured flat by their own prerequisite measurements that they're utilising. Again, because it goes without saying that the radius for a circle of equal altitude is unbendable, we can say it bends because no one's mentioned how flat the radius is until I come along. And then I'll tell you, no, you can't bend this distance. Earth's got to be flat by way of measurement for this to function. And it is. All Earth measurements are flat, including but not limited to suggestions of globe. They're never going to be anything other than a derived value from a flat measurement every single time.
That's why, Nathan, your book is going to be cutting edge. There's been no other book like it. Nothing will surpass it. This is on the edge of things now. You demonstrated it yesterday. Yeah, not done it for a while, but you stuck to where we are now and letting them demonstrate to you how they will use these prerequisites. They need a flat Earth more than we do. They have to use a flat Earth for their globe. And you highlighted it magnificently. And I can't wait for the book. Everybody buy this book and everything will become clear.
Yeah, the publisher got in touch and asked my wife to send him another clean copy because we were sending strings of emails with attachment after attachment. So, like, you know, in your reply, it just in Google adds like a string of emails prior to it to the list and becomes very confusing. Or so my publisher was moaning about. I mean, you know, not moaning, just saying that he was struggling to figure out which was the most recent copy as we're at draft 13.5. I was like, Paula, can you send him another one? So she did. And then I'd sent a couple of corrections that I'd looked through for about the half dozenth time in the last week or so that I've read through the book. And there's the highlighted couple of full stops that were missing weren't on the version that was then resent, i.e. 13.5 didn't have those corrections. And I think that's why it became confusing. So after my wife had sent it, 13.5, the draft, I'd then said, oh, I've gone through it afterwards. There's a couple of missing full stops here and here. So whether or not they get picked up on is kind of like, I'm just going to... If there's a couple of missing full stops in the book, that's just the way it'll have to be on the first ebook draft, on the first revision. I mean, I doubt he'll be going through it to what's the word, proofread it. He's a publisher, so it'll only be my fault if there's missing full stops. But like I say, I've done 13 and a half drafts, and it's as good as I can possibly get it. If I spot any, he's said specifically, just let me know and I'll make the corrections. So maybe, given that I have let him know, a couple of corrections to make. Hopefully he'll make those corrections. We'll see. If not, we'll do them on the fly afterwards. It's getting closer. A couple more weeks.
Like you say, Nathan, it's a couple of minor problems. You want it absolutely perfect, obviously, but the sad thing is, and you know it'll be the case, that they're the kind of things that could only be picked out of your book by, insane globers, that there's a full stop missing, because they won't be able to pull anything else on what you're saying about how Earth has always been measured flat and always will be. But that's how sad things are for these people who believe they live on a spinning water ball in the psychological dilemmas.
On silent because I'm trying to remember the chapter to reference. I will get better with this as time progresses. But at one point yesterday, I was being asked about how I felt about a 24-hour sun being alleged to be acquired from elevation angle measurements in Antarctica. And it was phrased to me in a way as if to say, ha ha, we've got flat Earth 24-hour sun measurements. That was kind of how it was put to me. I'm not exaggerating by that. That's how it was put. Now, in response, I delivered, not verbatim, but almost identical response that I gave to Mucktoon himself when he phoned me up personally, alleging to be in Antarctica after measuring Earth flat for a 24-hour period, as him and all of his compadres did. Other than Dave Dumbo McKeegan, who couldn't figure out how to use a tripod. They all measured Earth flat there. Now, when it was put to me that they'd measured a flat Earth prerequisite surface level with a tool that's levelled, suggested to be on a equatorial plane, that's an equatorial mount, same one Dave couldn't quite cope with, I pointed out that the Earth is being measured flat with this tool. Now, the response to Toon was, where's the guns, Nathan? The response that I got from the server yesterday was, we don't want to talk about this anymore. Let's change the subject. While I, over and over again, pointed out that Earth was being measured flat with elevation angles. Now, their response, eventually, after about, I think we counted up to about 8 or maybe 7 times, that I was getting to the point where I was counting off their inability to cope with me turning their ha-ha 24-hour sun in Antarctica and me going, ha-ha, you've measured Earth flat there, other than Dave. And they didn't like it very much. Yeah, suddenly they don't want to talk about Antarctica anymore. So I say things like, do you want to ask me if there's any guns? Instead of the angle measurements that they definitely measured. Other than Dave the Dumbo. Yeah, they suddenly don't like Antarctica when you point out that they're measuring Earth flat there.
What direction is Antarctica in?
South.
Did you say?
They didn't like that either.
Oh, dear.
So the first thing some guy did was utilise the wrong direction fallacy to suggest that they have antipodal positioning when they describe horizontal azimuth directionality in a degree from north. That's south. That's a flat Earth measurement by prerequisite, axiomatically only capable of description with respect to a horizontal plane. It's horizontal degrees to give you south. When I pointed out that their directionality was south, again, suddenly they don't want to talk to Antarctica. We think it's a win when we've measured Earth flat for a 24-hour period. Other than Dave Dumbo. It's not. It's an affirmation that you've measured Earth flat. The same affirmation that was delivered to Toon, and I'm not exaggerating, I counted them 100 times at the point I said it to him verbally while he was alleged to be in Antarctica. Same thing happened yesterday. We only get up to 6 or 7 renditions of the exact same prerequisite flat Earth elevation angle that was measured there by all of them. Other than Dumbo Dave. What a clown. Overwhelmed by a tripod. Yeah, Earth's measured flat in Antarctica.
Yeah.
South's flat.
It's amazing because obviously we've had a little bit of pushback from people with, well, I'll say our side or flat earthers, in regards to what we're saying over here now, that there is no argument, everything's measured flat, and you don't have to you deal with it. It's just that's the way it is, and it was really good, actually enjoyable yesterday to hear that being put into practice with these clowns, and just demonstrated how they have to come to realization that they're pointing out how flat it is and how flat it's measured all the time. They've always been doing it, like we've said, yeah, but we missed it. Now we can pick it up at a drop of a hat, yeah, and say you're using a flat Earth measurement. That's a flat Earth direction, measuring the sun for 24 hours. There's no way out of this, guys.
Indeedy. Accidentally banned Unitox Femu instead of Rob Noxious as the chat moved underneath my clicker. Got Rob Noxious in the chat saying, South's the bottom. I've just banned him. Like, no, I'm not going to spend an hour with you educating you on the wrong direction fallacy for you to come into my live stream chat and saying the exact same fallacy, rinse and repeat style. These people wonder why they got banned. This man begged me like a little bitch to unban him from this chat. Now, Neil is alleging that he called the police on him. Now, I'm just saying I've spent my time educating this complete idiot on the wrong direction fallacy utilised by him, getting him to go and look up what azimuth was and have him define how horizontal it is, affirming the use of the wrong direction fallacy when describing things like up, down, top, bottom, when describing azimuthal horizontality for direction. So when you come to my chat, Rob Noxious, and then say that South's the bottom, after I've taken my very precious time to educate you, a complete arsehole, on how wrong you are, when you come and reassert it, I just ban you immediately, yeah? Because you're a wanker, yeah? I don't want to deal with you anymore. You're a wanker. That's why you've been banned. Just in case you're wondering, why did I get banned? Because I took my time to explain it to you courteously. And you piss it in my face by coming back and asserting the same shit to poison my live stream chat. Now, I hate liars. You are a liar. Yeah, this man also asserted that he was a somebody when I pointed out he weren't, and lied about having 13 million views on TikTok. Because these people are liars. That's what they are. Again, in case they're puzzling over why they get removed from groups, because they're not pleasant people to deal with, they're liars.
It is embarrassing, Nathan, once you realise about the simplicity of a compass and what you're actually doing. Yeah, it's not difficult to understand what's happening with a compass, is it? You're holding it out in front of you, yeah, horizontally, parallel to the ground, and travelling, yeah? And you can point in different directions, but every one of them directions will be horizontal. I mean, what is so difficult to understand about that? That isn't a trick question that, us flat earthers are, if we make this up and say this, that'll make things difficult for them. That's just the way it works. Have you never been in the Scouts or Cubs and gone hiking? You've never used a map and a compass? This is grown men telling you south is up and south is down and north is up. They're pathetic, absolutely pathetic. Grown men, get a grip.
But some people like it. By a weird turn of events, I was described slightly differently to how I perceive myself in those scenarios. So in years gone by, right up to this particular event, that is to say, I just, by pure idle curiosity, more for my benefit or for the benefit of the panel, because there wasn't much conversation going on when I joined. But out of idle curiosity, I joined the group. This is Worldwide Debates. If I ever publish that video, I will put a link to his server. So he was very gracious. So a bit of tit for tat that I have with the guy. His name's Riggs. And I was telling him he was a terrible moderator because there's people talking straight through me. And he's explaining that he's got different rooms. But if I want to moderate my own room, he can put me in that room, which is very, kind of him. Excuse me. But I said, no, I don't want that. I want to be here without any, so-called advantages. I'm like, no, I want to be here on a level playing field where I don't have that ability. So now I'm all right. I don't want to be moved, right? But then when there's people that are talking straight through the middle of me when I'm responding after listening and clearing the airwaves for somebody to put a claim to me, like I usually do, right? Immediately and instantly I'm being talked through and appealing to the moderation team, which is all I can do when I've not got any control, to take control, right? And calling him a crap moderator, right? Now, at various different points, he's come back in, moderated, and then said things like, if Nathan wants to run his little show from here, I'm like, encore. If I'm going to call you a crap moderator, I expect to be described as having a small show, slightly condescending. More power to you, Briggs. Thank you very much for having me, by the way. I will, if I ever publish that video to the public, that is, put a link to your server. And thank you very much for having me. I don't think I personally thanked him after even 8 hours of being in his server. But yeah, I didn't, for a change, feel like my typical description, which is feeling like you're a lion, like you're there to perform. The performance is you running around biting heads while the audience watches. Whereas while we're in there, and I'm saying, I'm not here to answer questions, I'm going to be telling you what's what. Yeah? I don't give a crap if you accept it. I don't need your affirmation. I'll just be telling you how it is. Yeah? While they tell me how much they respect me and how much they want to hear what I've got to say, and while I disrespect them and tell them how much I couldn't give a crap what they've got to say. But I felt, and it was described by somebody else, just in a weird way, in the same analogy, similar. Someone said, you're the ringmaster. So where I normally see myself as the lion, admittedly a very powerful creature running around, by metaphor, biting off heads, in this instance, I actually agree with the analogy that was used, not by me, but by someone else, by a third party. They're like, well, you're now the ringmaster. I'm like, that's a slightly interesting difference in terms of terminology by analogy, because I do feel like I am the one whipping them, and they're all, not necessarily lions, maybe little mice and stuff, but they're all getting a good whipping from somebody who's running the circus. And in that instance, I was the one running the circus, rather than being there under the apprehension that I've got to entertain them as a lion by biting their heads off. So it was an interesting turn of events. Like I say, my attitude was different yesterday than it has been in almost any other debate scenario, because I just didn't view it as a debate, because it isn't.
Yeah, I noticed it too. And you could say they was the hyenas with no teeth, because that's what they was doing. They was trying to gang up and get together. But you took control, yeah. And it was noticed, Nathan. I noticed it, and like I said before, it's this where we are now with this. People are pushing back on this approach, but you demonstrated it beautifully yesterday.
Yeah, I didn't necessarily enjoy the process. I felt like I was in the company of absolute scum. I knew that what I was doing was producing something that was extremely entertaining, and I knew that there's going to be people out there that will listen back to me absolutely ripping new ones, using quite vile metaphors. I get there's people out there that don't like that as well, but these people are scum, and I'm going to treat them like scum. They're more than willing to lie, misrepresent what you've said, make up quotes that you haven't delivered, and then start talking about how well you're looking after your kids. Some of them will even send police and social services round.
That's fine.
Well, I'm
Fine,
just
but
saying.
the rape analogies need to go.
Fair enough.
Did I hear something like the Discord sound then again? Or was that Neil?
I don't think so. I didn't. Right, we're coming up on the hour. I think there's only 10 more. I think we're at number 50 for the Feast of Nonsense. So at least we'll have at least one more show on the Feast of Nonsense. I think this is number 9. So we should have at least one more as we go through 50
Number
through
9?
60. Say again?
Number 9? Number 9?
Right, you just calm yourself there, Yoko.
See, Nathan, a lot of people will not get that.
The Yoko reference.
No, I think I
Cool.
Oh,
Fun has been had by all. Check it out if you did want to watch those 8 hours of ball death, if you want to call that. Not a debate, but definitely people being dragged around by their short hairs. About 30 of them. Become a member.
Nathan, where can I? You mentioned the hyena slaughter video. Where can I watch this at? Yeah, I don't.
Perfect.
I didn't see that, or I wasn't listening to it yesterday.
Become a member. So if you want to watch those 8 hours, they're currently members only. I may or may not publish it. It's one of those that it kind of is a finale to the perception of there even being a debate. Like I say, during the session, I'm making it absolutely abundantly clear that this isn't a case that I'm asking for affirmation, seeking a discussion, seeking confirmation. I am there to tell them how Earth is measured flat. In all circumstances, without exception, including but not limited to their own globe faith. You can watch this video on my members only section. So if you did want to join as a member, you can watch those 8 hours of absolute annihilation of globe believing dickheads.
Is that YouTube member, or is that a different site?
The member to the Nathan Oakley 1980 YouTube channel.
Okay, I'm on there. Then I should be able to see it then.
Yes, definitely. I saw some.
So there was a noise then again. I was just going to ask you, you've said that now, so I probably know the answer. I was just going to say, was you going to make any shorts out of that video? But you probably won't, will you?
It's a bit too long. I did think about that while I was listening back to it, and I had nothing on today. This morning, that is, before the show. So I just listened back to that. But I didn't even get halfway through it. You know what I mean? It's so long. And while I was listening back, I was like, yes, there are definitely clips that I could take from it. And I'm sure I've got the skill to limit that down to less than 3 minutes. But whether or not I actually do that, I'm much more inclined to trim out what we did today when we're describing the Feast of Nonsense assertions that we get on this list. I'm much more inclined to take that and turn it into shorts material than I am to take out any... Maybe I should just appeal to my members. If you happen to watch the 8-hour recording of me and the panel in Worldwide Debates, the one that's currently members only that we're discussing, if you find a section that you like or you see as being a worthy short clip, then just timestamp it. So use a colon. So if it's 1 hour, 5 minutes and 12 seconds, it's 1:12:05. And that will, if you press spacebar after it and press enter, obviously, to post the message, it will put a blue timestamp that I can just click on and then listen back to however, worthy the person that suggested it is. And I may well turn that into a trimmed out clip, but because of the size of it, it's too much to assess. It's a bit overwhelming, and I'm going to have more and more on as the book gets published very, very soon. I'm going to have less and less time to do things like that. But if I happen to come across it and you're watching that as a member, and I'm going to keep it members only for a fair time, because it's kind of like a little Brucey bonus for those of you who've remained members, but whilst listening to me going, well, there is no debate. There's a lot of people who've joined because they like that. They want that process, and that's why they've paid money to me. It's like, that obviously I'm not going to count out because they say that there needs to be the ongoing ringmaster / lion in a den running around being whipped scenario, because that's never going to... You can't get back what's been unearthed as being completely surplus to requirements. If Earth's being measured flat by all sides, literally there is no debate. Now, I can't help that moving forward, but if obviously you've joined as a member and gone, I just want to hear you absolutely beat the living crap, metaphorically speaking, out of a ball believer. Like, give them the horrendous time that they've given me for the last 12 years, or for you, however long it is by comparison. So if you're going, I go into these forums and I get shut down, talked through, disrespected, and I want somebody to champion the beating they deserve, the mental beatdown and verbal smackdown that they deserve, and you just want to see that, then that's the reward. It's like, there you go, there's 8 hours of material of baller after baller after baller, like the Smith character on top of Neo, right? He's just throwing them off. That's me. If you like that, become a member, and then you've got loads, like 8 hours worth. If you ever need that scratch, and you need to itch that scratch, you're like, I just want to see Ball Believers. I want to see Jesse Path of Light have his ass handed to him. I want to see Manufactotum getting absolutely destroyed. I want to see, he was the guy I just banned from chat, Rob Noxious, get the living daylights beaten out of him in debate. It's not, but you know what I'm talking about. Dead.
It's good as well. I know I keep repeating this, but it's good because, like you're saying, it's a bit of a golden nugget, that one. It's the last one, but you're in there and you're just showing that you're not arguing about, you know, gravity and all the nonsense that we used to. You're on the new rhetoric of and along the book, which people are pushing back a little bit. But if you listen to the yesterday, it's a different you with the new rhetoric. And it's nice to listen to that. It's put it into practice, and you know what I'm trying to say, don't you? It's not. We're not arguing the old arguments. It wasn't an argument anyway, and you didn't argue. You were spitting out facts, like you said, and people can go back now and think, well, yeah, I understand exactly what Nathan and the crew are saying. You can still point these things out without talking about the feast of nonsense or bringing up the old housekeeping questions and talking about the distance to the horizon or Coriolis. Or you don't have to do that. You just bring it back to the measurement, and it destroys the globus. Measurements destroy globus.
I like how in a fanciful scenario that's been hypothetically put into debate, the guys that were challenging me specifically yesterday wanted to talk about areas of equal elevation deriving useful ground positions for navigation, to then use the typical straw man of how do we acquire the height. But in the scenario that was set up, admittedly led by myself, we're actually trying to save our life at sea in a dinghy. And one guy comes along, he's like, well, how do we measure height? I'm like, we don't. That's not part of the process when we're trying to find our position. Now, he rinsed and repeated that position about 5 or 6 times. At which point I said, if you were in the dinghy with me, I would strangle you and then throw you over the side of the dinghy. Because what he's doing by arguing about a completely surplus to requirement, irrelevant calculation that's not described in any celestial navigation manual ever, is put in danger the hypothetical, metaphorical, fanciful lives of everybody in this dinghy that doesn't really exist. Like me strangling him to death and then disposing of his corpse so he doesn't keep wasting everybody's time acquiring the knowledge, end quote him, of the height of the stars useful to nobody. Deriving elevation angle measurement to minus the angle from 90, that's the 90 below the star, and timesing it by 60 to give us a flat radial value for a circle of equal elevation that hopefully, with only 2, but probably with 3, you have a single intersect point that marks your location on the surface. At no point do you need the altitude. But if some guy in a dinghy, while everyone's worried that they're not going to make it home, we need to find out where we are so we can set a course that way and make it to land without dying. When there's a fart-sniffing dweeb sat in the boat insisting that you measure the height of the stars, that's justification in this hypothetical scenario for throttling him to death and throwing him over the side. Very amusing rhetoric to listen back to, while I justifiably describe why that person would have been thrown over the side of the life raft for his pissing around. Yeah? You want to fuck around with this height acquisition, then you'll find out how quickly you get disposed of over the side of this boat.
Yeah, that was very good. And you got a few people saying in the chat, why are you locking it up to members when Riggs is putting it there for free? It's $1.99 a month. Give me a freaking break.
So people are asking why I charge money to do this job that I do. Is that what I'm being asked?
Well, it's a guy that comes here, the Viking. He's a good guy. He's like, I'm poor. I'm like, I'm poor too, but $1.99 a month? Come on, guys. It's not even freaking 10 cents a day. Well, I don't know what it works out to, but
I'll tell you why. Because I want money for it, right? What yesterday was work, right? That was me working. A lot. 8 hours of it, to be precise. Based on 10 years of experience gathered up by doing this job day after day after day after day after day after day, right? To the point where I can refine my argument to where I'm throwing, by metaphor, Smiths off me one at a time. But yeah, well, that has taken quite a long time, and I'm poor as hell. I'm struggling. I'm not going to be honest or beat around the bush when it comes to my finances. The only reason I'm writing a book is to extend that. So I've got more money coming in. So at the moment, it's not out yet. So I'm not there's no revenue stream from the book. And I've spent huge amounts of time developing the knowledge to turn that into book to monetize it. Well, the same applies in the short term. I just want more members. That's it. Now, hopefully someone will go, oh, I'll gift a load of memberships out, which is just as good because it's just money. So that's what I want for doing the work, to be in a position to absolutely annihilate globe believers with their own words and demonstrate how flat Earth is measured in what they want to perceive as being a debate, while I point out how little debate there is when they're all using flat Earth prerequisites. That's my job. Now, eventually, there's a good chance that I might release it to the public, either on this or the second channel. So, I mean, subscribe to the second channel if you don't want to spend money becoming a member. I'm not going to twist anybody's arm. Obviously, there's no obligation. But if you subscribe, there's a link below to the second channel. I may release it there like I release some of the after shows. But initially, I don't want to do that. I do want it to be a bonus for the people who've subscribed and become a member, who've already given me money to be in that privileged position, or at the very least been gifted it by somebody else who's given me money to put them in that position. Well, that's my thank you to them, right? They've already given me that money. It's already gone. And I want to say, if you are that guy or girl that has only joined because you like watching me beat the crap out of bull believers in debate, then admittedly with me saying this is not a debate. We both measure Earth flat. Therefore, this is not a debate. But for 8 hours solid with people saying, nah, we can bend radii, or whatever they're saying, right? Crap rebuttals. Because that's all they gave. No one gave a decent rebuttal. There wasn't one single decent rebuttal that stumped me. Not one. But you'd have to pay for that. That's it. You just become a member.
I don't know, Nathan. I thought you were struggling with how you measure a basketball.
No, I described that as being a false equivalence fallacy. When some guy comes along and says, oh, well, we could measure a basketball or a pool ball. Those were the two examples by false equivalence. I'm like, well, that's a fallacy. You're not comparing something to a ball when we measure an aspect of the surface flat for linear miles. And given that the opener to me being there was Jesse, Path of Light, measuring drop over a flat Earth linear distance in miles. Ergo, it's utterly inconsequential what any of these Muppets said, right? We were always going to be measuring flat Earth prerequisites, and no amount of squeaming and squirming is going to change that.
yeah, what were they screaming that it's not an affirming the consequent?
Yeah, I dealt with that too. So the guy, I keep pointing out that we measure Earth flat with an elevation angle, right? If we're measuring a navigation star or latitude or whatever we're measuring 90 degrees to the base of a star with. And we keep hearing a dozen times while I'm talking to other people, affirming the consequent, like a chicken clucking into the discussion. And after about half a dozen times of this, I stop talking to whoever I'm talking about. I'm like, okay, guy who keeps saying it's an affirming the consequent, the measurement. Detail what an affirming the consequent fallacy is. Give it in a formula. And he couldn't do it. He didn't even know what an affirming the consequent was. He couldn't break it down. If P, then Q, Q, therefore P. He couldn't do it. He didn't know what it was. Now, obviously, that was met with an absolute chastising and being berated and belittled by me in the worst possible tones I could muster. Yeah, that's what he got as a consequence of his constant yakking. Affirming the consequent. No, it weren't. It was a measurement. But that guy had an absolute strip tore off him. Much to the delight of paying a member if you are one. Check it out.
Oh, yeah, listen, the Viking, truth is for free. But let's get things straight. You enjoyed listening to it for 8 hours, right? If you were there, you don't think that there's labor being put in? It don't even come out to 10 cents a day. Please. You sound like freaking Jenna. Truth should be free.
It is.
Nobody should
Well,
be charging
if
for
that's what he
truth.
wants, that's fair enough, right? You want the brass tacks of what was dealt with. We dealt with elevations, and in summary, we had things like elevations of a mountain, elevations of a cruise ship, elevations of you if you're observing something that's 20 miles away, that's 40 feet above the ground level, measured from sea level. Every single prerequisite altitude measurement was pointed out that it's perpendicular to a plane of reference, measured with a master reference called sea level, and is ultimately a flat Earth prerequisite. Now, that's the summary of about a third of the discussion points. Another third would be linear distance measurements, a flat Earth prerequisite taken from maps and scales. That's what was being put in the other third. The last third was elevation angles forming 90 degrees, so you can minus that minus that degree from 90 and times it by 60 to give you a flat only prerequisite radial value for a circle of equal elevation for celestial navigation. So in summary, if you just want the truth of it, no worries, I can provide that in a very concise summary. What you hear is that information beating the living brakes off everybody who believed in a ball in that server for 8 hours, or 7.5. The video's 8 hours, but like I say, half an hour of it was 15 minutes of probably dead air where I'm like, the boys have got no one to talk to, shall I go and join a random Discord server? Which is why I was in there. But if you just want the truth of it, I can deliver that in a concise summary at the end of this live stream. It's not difficult. Earth's just measured flat. There you go, even more concise. I'm not trying to hide any truth. But 8 hours of work, yeah.
I think what it is, Nathan.
Dead.
Not just talking about the guy Neil's talking about. I'm saying, even though you've just concisely said it's as simple as that, and we all know that, we've been pointing out for a while now. We're talking about that yesterday, and you've explained it all and how it came about. But some people still want, not that it was an argument yesterday, but they want to hear that noise, if you know what I mean. That's what they like to listen to. When they do know the simple facts of that, all we're explaining is how Earth's measured flat, always has been measured flat. And if you just stick to that and realise that, then that's how simple it is. But I think a lot of these people, maybe the guy Neil's talking to, wants to listen to that show, just not for particularly that information, because he probably already knows that. He wants to listen to the hashtag argument and the shouting and the insults.
Fair enough.
That's a shame, really.
Well, that's what it's there for, though. I mean, I agree with you, first of all. I'm not disagreeing with you, right? I absolutely agree. It's completely unnecessary. However, that is kind of what's built this channel over the last 10 years or so. So I can relate to somebody. People keep coming in. And there was a guy who was in there at one point who was like, I did actually specifically come in and ask Nathan to come to this server to do just this. While people are going, shut him up, mute him, I can't cope. And I can't remember who it was, but some guy was like, yeah, I have actually come in and asked Nathan. Well, whoever you were, I can't remember who you were, but that had a fairly substantial influence on me, which is to say, rather than demeaning him, going, look, there is no debate. Why are you asking me to do something that's unnecessary? It's surplus to requirements, there's no debate. It's like, he's asking for it because he wants it. There's no other reason, and he doesn't have to justify that. You can't. Your desires are what they are, and you don't have to justify them unless you're doing something criminal, which he wasn't. He's just saying, I want what you do. Give me that, because I like it. And that's how I inferred it when I'm like, would it harm to go into one of those servers and rip a few heads off? Well, no, it's dead easy, right? Other than the time involved. Dead easy because I've invested 10 or 12 years refining my arguments to the point where I can do that. But like I say, because that person's asking, he's a direct reflection of lots of other people who want the same thing from me. Now, given that I'm saying explicitly and repeating now, there is no debate. Those days are over. But if you want to say, well, yeah, but I want to see how that actually translates into you beating the brakes off a load of bull-believing wankers, then that's it. That is the example. But will that happen again? No, but there'll be versions of it. And Neil spotted this. He's like, you're just practicing for if you end up getting hijacked by some wanker who says, yeah, you can come on my show and promote my book. And the next thing you know, oh, did I mention this complete wanker that's also going to talk to you, talk down to you, demean you, talk through you, verbally mute you. Did I not mention that there's going to be a cunt here? Oh, this is cunt that I didn't mention. He's going to talk to you now. Yeah? That was what I was practicing for when that inevitably happens. Right, well, we
I
done.
knew it.
I'm gonna
First of
go.
all, the question, do you guys want to go into a Discord server? That don't even have to be asked. You know damn well we want to go into a server, especially at that time when the show was over, the after show was over, and we were just hanging out. So that was great. But it dawned on me, I know what Nathan is doing here. He's freaking brushing up.
Yeah, you got to keep your sword sharp. Yeah, there's going to inevitably be that smarty pants fart sniffer that wants to come and prove us wrong after they hear me promoting my book on some random channel. They're like, what? Earth's measured flat? What kind of idiot are you? And then when he hears me promoting that you can just join my live stream that's still running and challenge me if you think you've got some evidence or measurements that are contradictory to the flat earth measurements we all use, then feel free. Someone will come in and go, don't you know that Aristoteles measured an angle and derived the radius? That's what we're going to get. Anyway, with that, I'm going to say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Primary Streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So, another massive thank you to all of you who liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member. It's only a couple of bucks a month, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
But when you measure it flat, it contradicts that. I'm spitting flat facts and that. And I know you don't like that. Google Maps is flat, it presents elevation profiles like that. I'm a spitting flat earth king. Sentence has a ring, doing my own thing. If earth was a big roast chicken, factually finger licking chicken, we just got the measurements missing. I'm spitting eggs and begs, begging the question lesson. I've said it before, time after time. I'm the spitting flat earth king of rhyme.